Hi, my name is Divinity, and I interned with NOAA Restoration Center this summer with a focus on how to improve outreach to increase awareness and funding for restoration in the Willamette River Basin. So for some context, government agencies have a responsibility to protect the environment. There are federal mandates for conservation and restoration. And these projects really require input, feedback, and support from the public. So their success hinges upon public attitudes and opinions, and engagement is absolutely critical to their success. So the issue with engagement is that these agencies are communicating with a broad range of stakeholders, very scientific information that can be technical, with this broad range of audiences that have various backgrounds, knowledge levels, and experiences. So it is imperative to improve education and outreach in order to meet environmental needs, address projected degradation, and solve environmental problems. So my overarching research question is, what are best practices for environmental communications that federal agencies may use? So for my internship, NOAA Restoration Center is an office under NOAA Fisheries that focuses on technical support, outreach, and funding for restoration projects. And the Willamette River Basin, as you can see in Figure 1, is huge relative to Oregon. It makes up about 12% of the state. So they are communicating with a large amount of people, a very broad audience. And the Willamette River Basin is home to Chinook salmon and steelhead populations that are listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act. So one way that the Restoration Center works to rebound these populations is through outreach and communication. So I conducted interviews with site partners, analyzed NOAA's publications on the Willamette River Basin, and did a literature review for best practices. So the Willamette River Basin is really a great case study for environmental communications because aquatic ecosystem knowledge is limited among the public, and so it makes it a very challenging topic. And it just is over 12% of the state of Oregon. So it is a very broad audience that they are reaching. So while I'm asking this question that's more broad on outreach for federal agencies, I'm using the Willamette River Basin as a case study to see how these strategies hold up in the context of aquatic communication, in the context of a very challenging aspect of environmental communication, and seeing if these strategies can be applied to specific situations. So what I found was that environmental communication should be solution-oriented. It should empower audiences, provide tangible actions for people to take. You don't want to introduce a problem and then just leave it hanging. You want to, let your audience know how they can get involved, how they can make a difference, and what will those actions do. Additionally, it should connect to values. And that really entails knowing your audience, building trust with your audience, connecting your scientific assessments to social values, so it will be well received. Additionally, communications should allow for self-paced learning and exploration, should never overwhelm your audience with information. There should be links to references or a level of interactivity within the communication medium so people can slowly learn more about a topic instead of just having all the information kind of thrown at them and feeling overwhelmed, because that is also disempowering. And then finally, accessibility. It's very broad, but some key things to keep in mind would be to avoid nuanced language, technical jargon, abbreviations, things that will kind of limit understanding. Also, you want to keep in mind using multiple languages, adding captions, considering what your communication will look like on a mobile app versus a desktop, and will communications look different if the desktop screen size is smaller or bigger, those kinds of things for accessibility. So basically, what does this all mean and how do we apply it? So for significance and next steps, I would like to emphasize that environmental communication is an iterative process. No strategies that I will mention should be static. They should be researched and revised accordingly. And we should be incorporating these best practices into mediums and messaging strategies. So in figure 3, I talk a little bit about how we can implement these strategies into media and messaging. And so, for example, under mediums, SMS messaging is a really great communication strategy that's starting to be utilized in a lot of different areas and could definitely be utilized in environmental communication. It's kind of a two-way communication. People can reply with a number or a word if they want to learn more about something, kind of builds trust with that two-way communication, as well as allowing for self-paced exploration of the topic. And for messaging, some examples is messaging should be personal and local as possible. And that's really, hitting, connecting to the values that your audience has in order to be well received. And some opportunities for future research include researching user data, changing social norms, demographics, changing audience preferences, emerging technologies, agnotology. It's really about adapting those communication strategies in the face of social change, in the face of environmental change. Like I said, these are not static strategies. So overall, following these communication strategies can raise awareness for environmental issues, really, broaden engagement to increase support and funding for local and federal projects, and address environmental issues. Environmental issues are undoubtedly collective action issues, and we really need to get everyone on board.